You are listening to the Pharmacy Podcast, the leading word in pharmacy. You can find all of our episodes at www.pharmacypodcast.com.
Hi, this is Elisa Meredith, partner and strategist with Scalable Social Media, and you're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Hey, this is Todd Urey, host of the Pharmacy Podcast, with another episode of the Pharmacy Podcast. I just wanted to thank the listeners. We've accumulated over 17,000 listeners with the Pharmacy Podcast. Extremely excited. The show started in March of 2009, and it's just been absolutely wonderful interviewing so many of the participants that have come on the show. Today's show is equally as interesting as many of our other shows have been. It's part of what I believe in all independent pharmacies really need to grasp from a standpoint of marketing, and that is scalable social media and social media. And the name of the company is Scalable Social Media. And our guest today is on the show is Elisa Meredith. She's partner and strategist with Scalable Social Media. And if you haven't searched for any social media tools yet, please go to Google and put in Scalable Social Media, and their website will come up because it's very easy to find. How are you doing today, Elisa?
I'm doing great. How are you, Todd?
Very good.
Good.
So we've met each other through Scott Maitland with Pharmacy Marketing Quarterly,
Right.
which is an incredible marketing magazine specifically designed and published for the independent pharmacy owner.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott and you met up, and you're both, I believe, Texans. Is that correct?
Well, yes, I'm originally from Maine, but I've been in Texas for 6.5 years now, so maybe that counts.
Exactly. Definitely a Texan. Scott is just an absolute incredible marketer. He's designed this publication designed specifically for the independent pharmacy owner. And we all understand that marketing plans and marketing strategies in today's world, it's 2012, needs to include an internet presence, and it needs to include a social media campaign. So what I want to do is just turn things over to you as our guest today, talking about social media, and just give us a background on scalable social media, as well as how this pertains to a small business, and then even a level deeper than that, how this will pertain to an independent pharmacy.
Absolutely. Well, we started because we realized that there was a need for a small business to do social media. Yet they didn't have the time or the expertise to do it themselves. So we actually started with a platform that gave them all the tools and the training, but we found they weren't doing it. So we had to kind of evolve into more of a full-service social media management company, and that has worked really well, where our dedicated community managers will become kind of an extension of each business. So if something's going on in the office, we ask, just copy us with an email and we'll see what we can do with it. So we keep a real good back and forth going. So that's how we kind of evolved. We'll choose a niche market. We do home care for seniors, we do pest control, and now we do independent pharmacy. And by concentrating on those three, we can get really deeply involved in that industry. So what we have found, there was a recent study by PricewaterhouseCoopers that showed that 1/3 of consumers are using social media for health-related matters. So taking that statistic, along with the fact that a Gallup poll recently showed that 73% of people rated pharmacists' level of ethics as high or very high, we said that's something we could use. So we started talking with some independent pharmacists and realized even better that they are out in the community all the time talking to physicians. They host events in their pharmacies, all things that really are social media gold. So we're really looking forward to working with pharmacists on a very intimate level, getting to know their business and making it into a social one, so they can kind of capitalize on that trust and the social nature of their business as it already is.
I find the entire marketing of any small business extremely interesting. I do that, of course, for my own companies that I represent and I help. And, of course, the Pharmacy Podcast is a small business, too. So we're doing all the same things that any of our independent pharmacy listeners would do for their own business. it's all based on something that's right in the name of your company, and that is scalability. And that is, you start with a brick and mortar business plan, and that, of course, all of these pharmacy owners have done exactly that. They have embedded their business in their community.
Right.
And now that we're in the age of social media as a huge form of getting their name out there and their customer service capabilities and their involvement in the community, now they're using social media as a platform, unlike the newspaper, unlike paying for TV commercial, unlike getting a billboard put out along the highway. Not that those aren't all necessary, but it's just so much evolving. It's changing so quickly. Not to give up my age, but I'm born in the early 70s, and I do remember my father during dinner looking at the paper and sitting around, and he'd hand a copy to my mom, and they'd read through it, and every once in a while I'd look at it, but not too much of a paper reader. And then, of course, magazines became more prevalent, and we moved in the age of inexpensive TV advertising in local communities through some of the local broadcasting stations, and now we're in an age that is just dramatically changed and dramatically different, with some of the very most similar and very most kind of same marketing strategies. So tell me how a small business owner who came from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, like myself, who are running these businesses, can kind of marry existing marketing strategies that they are probably very much used to kind of putting them into the social media world.
Well, one thing that a lot of pharmacists will do is have a flyer that they put in everyone's bag as they leave the pharmacy. So that's the kind of information that we can share in social media as well. Turn that right into a Facebook update. So it's something that they're already doing, but it can be spread in a much more viral way online, obviously. And then something that even goes back maybe earlier than the 60s and 70s is the time when everybody knew their pharmacist by name. If the pharmacist did something great for you, you told all your friends. If the pharmacist really annoyed you, you told all your friends. But now it's online, and people are talking about you anyway, so it's better to be there to respond, to say thank you, or to say, hey, how can I make it right? So all those same principles that applied back in the day are still working in social media. It's just that you need to be there so you can be part of that conversation.
This is much more than just, we say social media, and some of our listeners may immediately think of Facebook, but it's much bigger than that. This is a layering of social media strategies that include possibly blogging. It includes the world of Twitter. It includes the world of Facebook. It includes the world of their website. So give our listeners basically kind of the components of a true scalable social media strategy, so that they kind of get an idea of what your company kind of helps them to manage.
Right. Well, it does include all those things that you mentioned, as well as Google+, because while we're not finding a tremendous amount of interaction with possible clients, there is some, but it's becoming a big factor in Google search engine results. So we have everyone there, and we're hoping that as time goes on, the customers will start coming from there too. But we have to be adaptable, so we'll watch and see what happens with that. But we're also going to include email, because email still works. And it's a good way to tie in your blog and your social media and keep in touch on a regular basis. These people have already said they want to hear from you. We also do offer Facebook and Google AdWords, because that's a good way to kind of jumpstart your presence. But something else we do is we show you how to use offline methods to make it work. So if you have an event coming up, we'll show you how to optimize that for the best results online and offline.
I like to study marketing trends. I'm fascinated by it. I wish I could quit my day job and just become a pure marketer. And I've noticed that marketing trends, the one that hit me and really got me most excited in my evolution in my own careers, was the world of what they considered to be guerrilla marketing, which was when you really started to be strategically aggressive with your branding, whether that be stickers on the back of jackets of people that wanted to wear your brand, or whether you take a bunch of coasters into a bar and say, listen, you don't have to, this bar owner doesn't have to buy coasters anymore. You're going to put your logo on them and just start throwing them out there, or whether you build a strange-looking light box and you embed it on the Boston tram system and scare the Boston police service of them thinking that it was a bomb back in, I think that happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But whatever it was, that was kind of like where I started really, and this guerrilla marketing really started to take shape more about 10 years ago. But nonetheless, it really was fascinating to me, and some of those strategies are very much part of social media with regards to how you're reaching your customers, how you're staying in touch with customers. But when I talk about social media, the number one thing that I think really needs to not be overlooked is the social piece of social media, and that's the sincerity piece. Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of engines out there that will replicate content, and it's not sincere.
Right.
So talk to our listeners about the sincerity aspect of social media.
Oh, I'm glad you asked about that one. That one is so clear when you are looking at your Facebook news feed. You can tell which ones are generated by some robot somewhere and which ones are coming right from a business owner. So because we're kind of in between there, we're doing social media management, we have to get to know the business that we're dealing with, their personality, what it's like working in their office. So we ask for things like pictures. I don't care if you're just brought cookies in that day and you want to show people what's going on in the office. That gives people a genuine feel for who you are, and it builds that trust. One of my pet peeves, though, I have to say, is when someone comes onto your Facebook page and comments on an update of yours, you really need to respond. Say thank you, say anything, but don't make them feel like nobody's listening. And that's where so many people fall short in social media, is to not respond. And really that engagement's what we're begging for, so we need to say thank you when we get it.
Earlier, I just mentioned building a marketing strategy, and the marketing strategy starts with brick and mortar. Your example would be like a customer walking up to their counter and saying to them, hey, either thanks for this, or I wanted to comment on my prescription, or do you have any more information on this lotion, and nobody walking back up to the counter to respond to them.
Exactly. And so what do? They're going to walk out and they're going to go somewhere else. Even if you have the best prices, that doesn't matter.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. So what do you think we can tell listeners or share with our listeners today to kind of give them an easy way of thinking of how to implement a social media strategy for someone that might be listening that really hasn't done it yet? What are some just quick, easy steps that you can kind of give just as a first foot into this whole world of social media?
Well, think about what your goals are first, and then be committed to reaching them. And I know that sounds really kind of simple, but to set up a Facebook page and then leave it for 6 months, well, you might as well not bother. So first, decide what you want it to do for you, and then make concrete goals, and then try to figure out how you can reach those. But if you just want to jump into Facebook, you can do that too, but just make sure you're real. I've noticed there's a pharmacist, I think it's K Pharmacy. He does a great job of sharing just little snippets about his life, and maybe that works for him. So try different things. If you don't have time to sit down and make a strategy, try something, see what works.
Exactly. It's being human through the PC or through the computer or through your mobile device. It's using technology to reach out to your customer, but continue to be social, continue to be human. And I absolutely do that myself, and I practice that. As understanding the life of an independent pharmacy, and listeners, I completely understand what you guys are going through and your ladies are going through, you owners are going through, because I spend day after day, I travel to pharmacies, I listen to pharmacies' frustrations. Some of these pharmacies are pumping out 200, 300, 400 prescriptions a day, and they have very little time in their day to possibly even counsel patients that they very much in their heart want to be able to counsel. So saying to them, hey, I'm going to throw a social media program on top of your plate, is going to make their eyes roll and say, yeah, give me a break. However, it's manageable. It's manageable in multiple ways, and I'm going to give some suggestions, and then I'd like Lisa to give some suggestions too. Number one, look at your people on staff. There are pharmacy technicians and possibly pharmacists that you've hired that are already using social media for their personal life. And if you go out to a technician who you trust and who's mature enough on your staff and who's been on your staff that you understand, and you say, hey, I'm going to give you, you could even call it a promotion, and you say, I'm going to give you a promotion, you're now going to be our social media manager, and 1/3 of your time, 1/2 of your time, whatever you want to kind of, dedicate to that, I want you to kind of become our social media go-to technician so that you can engage our customers online through either Facebook or multiple of the tools. Number two, reach out to a consultant or a professional organization that knows what they're doing. Thus, scalable social media. And Elisa on our show today. Reach out to Elisa and ask the questions. Send her an email, tweet her, go to her Facebook, whatever it is, and basically exercise this from the beginning to finding out more information about putting a plan together, just as Elisa has suggested that we do. A place to actually go to kind of look at this before actually engaging is theindependentpharmacy.com. That is theindependentpharmacy.com, which Scalable Social Media put together as an example of how they can actually help you. And Elisa, what are some other suggestions for our pharmacy owners and listeners today that you can give?
Well, if you're looking at specific ideas on what to share, because sometimes I think people get overwhelmed and think it needs to be eloquent or super professional. Their video has to be fancy. No, it doesn't. It just has to be genuine and real, like we were talking about. I actually have a PDF with 10 things to share on Facebook when you can't think of a single thing to share, and that's at scalablesocialmedia.com/PMQ10. So if you want to download that, that's kind of a cheat sheet for those days when you can't think of anything to talk about, because there's always something to talk about.
Very good. And if you didn't get the actual address, you can definitely send an email to the Pharmacy Podcast Show, and we're going to get you in touch with Elisa and her team, as well as Scott Maitland and his team, which have a huge background and experience with social media. I can't stress that enough. It's sincerity. You are absolutely correct, Elisa, when you say you don't have to professionally, go out there and get, spend thousands of dollars on a video. Grab your iPhone or grab a video camera and videotape the technician of the day.
Right.
And the technician of the day or the technician of the week. And here, his name's Mark, and he's been with me for 3 years. And people love humanism.
Right.
People are people. People want to feel that they've are part of their community. They want to know about who they're giving their prescription to. And if you humanize your business, you're going to make your customers feel a lot more comfortable. And isn't that social media, Elisa?
Oh, exactly. And another part of that, too, is talking to your customers when they're in your store. Maybe some of them would be on video. And you can bet if you shared that on Facebook, on YouTube, and you told them you were going to do that, they're going to share that with their friends, too.
And look at how that just takes off. Mm-hmm. It just goes in. What is the word for that? That's
viral and scalable. Yes.
Viral social media.
Yeah.
So, and we definitely encourage that. So get your customers involved. That's exactly an incredible way to get your customers involved, is featuring them on your Facebook, either through video or through naming them. Of course, you're asking their permission to do so, but you'd like to say, I'd like to do a profile on you. You've been our customer for 3 years, and we'd like to feature a little bit about you. People like to hear their name. They like to feel that they're important to you and your business. So that's a great example, Elisa, of how to use it.
Oh, thanks. Well, we're really excited to work with independent pharmacists because we know they have so much to offer that really most aren't tapping into.
Very good. Well, I wanted to thank you, Elisa, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Todd.
Elisa Meredith, partner and strategist with Scalable Social Media. You can find Scalable Social Media at scalablesocialmedia.com. And we'd like to possibly have you back on the show again sometime in the future to kind of give us some updates.
I'd love that.
But for our listeners, this is another episode of the Pharmacy Podcast. You can find all of our shows at pharmacypodcast.com. Once again, that's pharmacypodcast.com. And we're here for you. We love the comments that we're getting. We like the emails that we're getting and correlating with you and supporting you in your businesses. If you have a show suggestion, please reach out to us. You can reach out to us at publisher@pharmacypodcast.com. That's publisher@pharmacypodcast.com. And once again, Elisa, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, Todd.